And today is March 13th, 2016, Sunday. And it is before noon. Before me is Richard Douglas West. Richard West is making a video statement for the purposes of his health and his well-being to the Premier of Ontario, the Right Honourable Kathleen Wynne. Kathleen Wynne's office was notified on Friday of a forthcoming statement in regards to the medical treatment of Richard Douglas West. With my intervention and third party on the phone, Richard West will identify himself for the purpose of this video, and I will ask him a series of questions to assist him, and not inasmuch to guide him through his statement that he will be making, but it's for the purpose of making this statement in the interests of Mr. West's health. So, Mr. West, are you ready to begin?
Yes.
Could you tell us your name for the record, please?
Richard Douglas West,
And where were you born?
Simcoe, Ontario, Canada,
And what is your birth date?
4th of July, 1962.
How old is that make you?
53.
Are you aware that you're making this statement?
Yes, I'm aware I'm making a statement.
Are you aware that you're making this statement for a proper means?
Yes, I'm aware.
Are you making this statement for any wrongful purpose?
No.
Are you aware that you're making a statement that could be considered to be evidence and made under oath?
Yes.
Mr. West, do you have a medical condition?
Yes.
Do you have treatment for this condition?
Yes.
Is this condition treated by a drug?
Yes.
Is this condition that you have treated by a drug and doctor assistance?
Yes.
And who is your current doctor?
Dr. Callery.
Could you spell that, please?
I believe it is spelled Callery.
And where is Dr. Callery? In Ontario?
Yes, in Ontario, Canada.
Is he a licensed member of the College of Physicians and Surgeons?
To my knowledge, yes.
And who, was he always your doctor?
No.
Who was your doctor prior to Dr. Callery?
Dr. J. Cluett from Tillsonburg, Ontario.
When was Dr. Cluett no longer your doctor, and Dr. Callery your current doctor?
A little more than 1 year ago.
When you're explaining that, it was, just to refresh your mind, was it not 2 years ago that Dr. Callery was not, or Dr. Cluett no longer was your doctor? And to clarify, was it 2 years ago? Or was it 1 year ago at some point?
Oh, it's probably 2 years by now. It's well past a year. It's got to be 2 anyhow.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I'll be as accurate as I can. I don't have all my information in front of me.
Okay, would you like some leeway just to explore some times and places and things like that?
Sure.
Okay.
Yes, I would.
Okay, now, the purpose of your statement here is in effect to what? Could you be as exact or non-exact, or just as elaborate as you possibly can? Could you go through what happened as to bring you to rise to the statement to go to the Premier's office?
I bring this statement to the Premier because of policy that was implemented in Woodstock Hospital.
Where's Woodstock Hospital?
Woodstock, Ontario, Canada.
Okay.
Also to the attention of Norfolk General Hospital in Simcoe, Ontario.
And where's that?
Simcoe, Norfolk County, Ontario.
Okay.
They've implemented policy that I have been informed, at least partially implemented on Assumption.
And how were you informed about that?
telephone, a three-way call with myself, Andrew Williams, and Jane Menard, who is second in command, I believe, at Woodstock General Hospital.
Did she identify herself as being Jane Menard?
Yes.
And are you aware of ever meeting Jane Menard at any time?
I don't think we have met.
And what did Miss Menard express to you?
That they have a policy that prevents me from using my doctor-prescribed medication and treatment in their facility.
Who prescribed this treatment?
My current physician, Dr. Callery.
Was it prescribed prior to Dr. Callery's involvement?
Yes, I have had the same prescription, or a prescription for the same medication for many years.
Is this medication replaceable with another medication?
No, I went through a lot of experimentation before this medication was deemed to be the proper treatment.
And what does this medication treat?
Chronic pain, anxiety, bowel spasms, muscle spasms, pretty much all the symptoms I have from my ailment.
And what ailment do you have?
I have Ehlers-Danlos, and I also have arthritis. I also have anxiety disorders, PTSD, some other things, a long list of illness.
And how does this medication affect your illness?
It doesn't cure my illness. It simply helps me to control the symptoms caused by it.
Is your treatment medically current? In other words, does your doctor monitor you with this medication and the treatment to your illness?
Yes.
Does anything happen if you don't get your medication?
Yes.
Could you explain or elaborate on that?
Yes. It causes me pain and distress, panic even.
Do you believe that that pain and distress causes you harm?
Yes.
Have you experienced that before?
Yes.
Could you tell us where?
In Simcoe Hospital in Norfolk County, Norfolk General Hospital.
Could you give an idea of when that happened?
Sometime back, a few years back now.
Okay. And what happened? Do you remember?
I was taken to Simcoe Hospital by Norfolk County law enforcement after I was arrested.
Okay.
I was taken there, taken to the emergency room because I hadn't been allowed to ingest my medication for a period of time that put me into distress. I was taken to Norfolk General Hospital. My medication was taken from me, and I was denied access to my doctor-prescribed treatment and medications. And I did not receive any medication until a couple of days later.
What happened to you then?
I suffered. I had to beg for my medication. No one would bring me my medication, even though I had a valid doctor's prescription for my medication with me.
Did they offer your medication to you?
No, they offered to replace it with a synthetic that's not viable to me.
What happens if you take the synthetic?
It causes me severe anxiety to the point where I will cry uncontrollably. That was my experience with them in the past.
Was it proven that this secondary medication, other than the medication that you're taking, was it proven that that medication would be effective to you?
Yes. See, It's even been,
Well, I'm just asking again, was it proven to be effective for you?
it's, the synthetics are not effective. The organic is,
Okay. Is the organic the medication that you're taking now?
yes.
Okay.
The organic medication controls my symptoms much better and doesn't have any kind of side effects. And I'm not at risk for death when I take the organics either, like synthetics.
Where else did it happen? Getting back to the original question of where your medication was taken from you.
The last episode where that happened to me was September, October of last year in Woodstock General Hospital,
What year was last year, Mr. Lewis?
2015.
Okay. Could you go through what happened from your mind? If the facts are current or the facts just need to be refreshed, what happened to bring you to that hospital?
I was in the car with my spouse. My spouse was driving. I started to have what turns out to be convulsions. I was having a hard time breathing, speaking, so on. So my spouse called 911. They told her to pull over and the ambulance would attend.
Where did this happen?
Norwich, Ontario, I believe, is where the ambulance picked me up from the side of the road. A short distance from my home.
Could you explain what happened then?
Hi.
They loaded me into an ambulance on the side of the road, and my spouse handed one of the ambulance attendants a bag that contained my medication and the assistive device to use it. And the ambulance attendant threw that bag back at my wife, wouldn't allow it in the ambulance. Told her it's not allowed in the ambulance. She had to follow me to the hospital with my medication so I could have my medication near me. When I attended the hospital, I see by the time we've gotten to the hospital, my seizures have subsided a fair bit. After I was there for a short time, my convulsions had stopped. I was put in the emergency room, hooked up to monitors, and attended to by a nurse, which eventually brought in a physician to see me. And I asked to use my doctor prescribed medication because I was having a lot of pain and I was in distress. And I was told, no, that's not going to happen.
And who told you this?
The attending physician, I can't remember his name.
Was it hospital staff?
As far as I understand, yes, it's hospital staff. I insisted on my doctor prescribed medication and treatment. Hospital staff informed me that if I attempted to use my doctor prescribed medication and treatment, I would be removed from the building by security. At that time, I went into panic. I didn't know what to do. So I did what anybody in Ontario would probably do. I called 911. For the second time, within the hour, my family had to dial 911 because of these issues. The minute that hospital staff understood that I had called police to intervene on my behalf and prevent the ejection from their facility, they told me I could use my medication, but I had to go out to the ambulance bay to do so.
And where was the ambulance bay?
It's connected to the hospital, a short walk from the emergency.
Was that part of the emergency or hospital environment?
Well, it's connected to the hospital, but as far as I understand, it's simply to park the ambulances in.
Was it conducive to medical treatment for somebody in emergency, do you believe?
No, it was not comparable to the emergency room.
Were there staff there?
Brief periods of time they attended, only to observe.
Was it a safe environment for you?
No.
Why?
Well, first of all, there was no medical staff present to address my medical needs. The only medical staff that attended stated that she was there simply to observe because they were scared of legal liabilities.
Was there medical equipment there to treat you?
Not in the ambulance bay. I see no medical equipment outside my equipment I brought myself.
Was there vehicles coming and going?
When I was in the ambulance bay, no vehicles came in or out those doors.
How long were you there for?
Several hours. How many hours, I'm not sure, but it was quite some time.
Was there anyone attending to you?
Law enforcement.
What happened there?
They seized my medication after endless phone calls and discussions and arguments. And I don't even know what to call it. It was nothing short of a circus show. I couldn't get a direct answer from anybody about my medication for hours on end. Eventually it was seized and taken from me.
Were you denied medical treatment in that facility?
I was denied my doctor prescribed treatment. Now, that should be exactly worded is basically I'm really not sure, but this is what happened to me. My doctor wrote me out a prescription and has done so since I've known. It's been a very simple way to do what I do. I've done it on a daily basis for many, many years. That was taken from me immediately. They told me I was not going to do that. I was not allowed to use my doctor prescribed medication and treatment inside the hospital. They considered the ambulance bay to be separate from the hospital, from what I understand.
Is the ambulance bay clean and sanitary for you to use your medication?
Well, it's a pretty clean garage, but it's not a hospital environment. There's, dirt on the floor, so on.
Were there any fumes in there?
No, I could not smell fuel or anything. The only bad smell in the air was the distaste for me and my disability.
Were there other staff working regularly in the ambulance bay?
I didn't see any ambulance attendants or anything like that. The only people, I dealt with law enforcement mostly out there.
Did you see any signs in there warning you of any potential exposure to fumes?
I don't recall. It was quite traumatic.
How did you deal with that trauma?
I got out of there as quick as I could,
Why?
so I could go and do what my doctor had prescribed to me. They wouldn't allow that in the hospital. As a matter of fact, law enforcement wouldn't allow it in the hospital either because they seized my medication from me.
Did that prevent you from getting treated in that hospital?
Well, I offered to leave that hospital. Okay, and the doctor told me at that point that I shouldn't leave the hospital. After all this rigmarole and stuff, all I want to do is get out of there, and they're telling me I shouldn't leave because they think that I may have just had a heart attack, not just a convulsion.
So you're still in the ambulance bay?
Yes. Okay, at that point, I asked to speak to a chaplain about exercising my rights under the new end-of-life application and the new laws in Ontario.
Did you want to do that?
At that point, it was a better option than what was going on, yes.
Were you in terrible pain, or average pain, or low pain?
At that point, I would still call it distress.
Could you explain and describe that distress as pain?
Pain's a big part of it, yes.
Could you elaborate on that as to what you go through during this episode?
Panic, pain, nausea. Now it's at the point of convulsions. That's what happens. I tremble. I shake all the time now sometimes. I don't know if you can see it on film, but I do shake.
Are you scared?
Oh yes. I'm terrified for my life. I'm terrified for my family.
Was your family watching you when you were going through this?
Pardon?
Was your family watching you? Any family members? Somebody familiar and close to you?
My spouse, my ex-spouse, sorry, is traumatized. Okay, my youngest daughter, or sorry, my oldest daughter was there too. She witnessed this. She's nothing short of traumatized too. My spouse, I don't, she's getting therapy. I don't know about my daughter.
What's your daughter's name?
Chastity Bridley,
How old is Chastity?
a little over 30 years old.
How many children do you have?
2 daughters.
What is your other daughter's name?
Her name is Allison.
How old is Allison?
You just sort of short of 30.
Mr. West, do you believe that you're being treated properly in the hospitals here in Ontario?
No.
Do you believe that what they were doing to you in that hospital was wrong?
Yes.
Do you believe it was deliberate?
Oh yes. Very deliberate. They tried to use me for a sick and twisted experiment. When I refused to be part of it, they implemented a policy that prevents me from attending any hospitals, especially the ones that I've mentioned. Okay, here I sit. Okay, in the last 12 days I've lost 15 pounds. I can pull 2 more notches on my belt right now. I have a hard time swallowing, even speaking sometimes. If I have to swallow too much, I can't speak. Can't finish an entire meal. I'm permanently hungry because I can't finish a meal.
Do you need medical help now?
Yes,
Did the hospital take you in?
only if I agree to be part of an experiment. Only if I agree to their policy that says I can't do what my doctor has said, as prescribed to me.
Do you have to blindly trust them that they will do the right thing or claim to do the right thing?
Apparently so.
Can you question their authority?
Yes, it's my intentions today.
Could you tell us something about something called a policy that you were made aware of at Woodstock Hospital for the use of this specific type of medication, which is seemingly identified in this policy made by the administration in that hospital? Could you tell us something about that, what you know about it?
The current policy,
Have you seen this policy, first of all?
no, I've not seen it in black and white. I've been quoted parts of it over the phone.
Have you seen a policy similar to this?
I have.
Okay. And dealing specifically with Woodstock,
Woodstock Hospital, I have not seen a written policy. Simcoe General Hospital, or Norfolk General Hospital in Simcoe, Ontario, I have seen a written policy from there.
was a policy exemplified when the time you were visiting Simcoe, or no, sorry, Woodstock Hospital? Was the policy exemplified during your presence there?
No one could produce a policy for me.
Were they acting with the policies in mind?
Oh yes, they reminded me over and over that this is a policy, this is the policy, and because of that policy, you can't do what your doctor has prescribed.
Did you fear that you were going to die?
Yes. I was scared I was going to have a stroke. My blood pressure is uncontrollable even with medications.
Did they offer you any alternative?
No, not at that point.
Do they have your current medical file in their hands?
I would hope so. I brought some medical information with me to the hospital. I carry it with me at all times.
What medical information is that?
Oh, some background on my marijuana licensing. Backgrounds on hospital treatment for
Are you in pain now, Mr. West?
yes.
Are you feeling anxious?
Yeah, I'm just done. I don't even, I can't argue anymore with anybody. I have been trying to get proper medical care for many years.
And whose responsibility do you think it is to ensure that you have proper medical care in this province?
Well, I believe it all falls at the end of the day. I'm hoping the Premier can do something, and I'm holding her responsible for what's happening to me at this time. Now, if that's incorrect, and they would like to implement other entities in the government that I can blame, that's fine. Okay, but I'm going directly to our Premier today with this video. I've spoken to them over the years many times over these kind of situations, and they've just refused to deal with it. I'm hoping now that by presenting some physical evidence and with my statements, and maybe with statements from other witnesses who witnessed this stuff, they can do something.
Do you have information about other witnesses that have observed this or experienced this with you?
Yes.
Have other people experienced similar treatment that you know about in the hospitals in Ontario?
I've not witnessed anyone else being treated like this. It may happen. I'm sure it does happen. I don't really want to say I'm sure it happens, but there's a real possibility that it does happen, okay? And there's an even better possibility it's going to happen today because of those policies. Tens of thousands of people like me in Ontario.
Are you aware of Health Canada's current permitting growth, such as Tweed, Canopy Growth Ventures, other companies like that that produce medication like yours? Do you know these companies?
I know of them.
Do they produce a similar type of product?
No. As a matter of fact, a lot of the so-called licensed producers in Ontario, I don't know, there's a dozen of them or so that I know of, a lot of their product has been recalled.
But did they produce a similar type of product to what you're consuming?
No. That product is produced by myself specifically for my medical needs.
Is the product vaporized?
Yes, I use it in a vapor form to control breakthrough pain and muscle spasms.
Is it similar in some ways to what you're using?
Yes.
In what ways?
It's derived from the cannabis plant.
What form is it derived from?
Well, I'm sure they have different forms of cannabis. There's many different forms of cannabis.
How would you consume these different forms of cannabis, or use them, or ingest them, or use them?
Over the last year or two, I've been prescribed cannabis concentrate because just regular cannabis does not work to control my symptoms.
Would the cannabis that Tweed uses work?
Not as effectively as what I use.
Would oral medication work?
I do this, I also ingest it in other ways. It's just that I use vapor for breakthrough.
Is it a complicated method of administering your medication?
No, it's very simple now. Matter of fact, it's so simple, I've been sitting here doing it while we speak. Without a cord plugged in, without any kind of assistance other than myself.
Does Tweed provide you or the hospital, do you know, with any of this medication?
No, from what I've been told and from policy I have seen in writing, organic cannabis is not allowed in the hospital, only synthetics. They will not allow organic cannabis in the hospital. They will take it from me like they have in the past. They've assured me that on the phone. Law enforcement has assured me they will take my medication like they've done in the past.
Were you given any synthetic cannabis by the hospital to treat your ailment?
I have been prescribed by Norfolk General Hospital synthetic cannabis, but I didn't take it because of what would happen to me.
What would happen to you?
It would give me anxiety bad enough that I would cry uncontrollably and think about killing myself. That was the worst of it. I tried the synthetics, and that's precisely what happened to me. So that's why, my doctors and myself came up with the organic cannabis and concentrate.
Is that working for you?
I don't know how to explain this. Okay, I'm going to try real hard to be precise here. I use this to control the symptoms of my diseases. It's not going to cure my diseases, and I understand that. Okay, I also understand that I don't live like most people because of my disease and because of the rarity and because of lack of knowledge here in Canada about my disease and the treatment thereof. Like I said, it doesn't cure my disease, it just helps me to control my symptoms and at least make an attempt at some kind of quality of life. Okay, and without it, I can't even with it, sometimes I can't do my own pants up, things like this. It's been part of my life for a long, long time. The cannabis plant and myself have a symbiotic relationship. Okay, without the cannabis plant, I'm not allowed to exist. Without me, that plant's not allowed to exist.
Do you believe that the Woodstock Hospital and hospitals like that intend to remove you from your medication in order to inflict harm and torture to you?
Yes, I've been instructed on the phone precisely what would happen to me, and that's exactly it. They have told me that my organic cannabis would be stripped from me, even seized by the police.
Who wrote that policy, or who told you this?
I spoke with Jane Menard. She told me on the phone that she was responsible for that policy.
Is this policy based under fact?
No.
What was it based under? Do you know?
Jane Menard told me over the phone that at least parts of it were based on assumptions. Those assumptions kill people. I don't know how else to put it. If they don't kill you, they cause you so much stress you'll think about shooting yourself in the head.
Is this policy or this assumption interfering with your medical treatment?
Yes.
Do you believe that they're trying to forcefully correct you for whatever the reason or whatever the dictate through that policy is telling you to?
Oh yes, this is a out and out attack, not just on my person, but my disability and the treatment thereof.
Is that policy being forced on you?
Yes, they are attempting to force it upon me right now, and this is why I'm asking the Premier to intervene, okay, and to show those people what is proper and what is not proper.
Do you believe you're being targeted through that policy?
Yes, specifically targeted by my medication, okay. I'm specifically targeted because of my disability. So you couldn't have put a bigger bullseye on me. They segregated me from everybody else in that hospital that I know of. They actually segregated me from the hospital itself by putting me in the ambulance bay. So they could figure out if I was going to have to stay there or whether I could leave the place and not have to worry about falling over dead.
How did you feel at the time when you got segregated from the hospital?
Panic at first, and then I became, I don't know, it's past enraged. I don't know how to explain it. I became so mad. It's just like now I'm so mad I can't stand it, but I'm past. I couldn't yell at somebody right now if I had to. I don't even have it in me. So I attempted everything I could to get my hands on my medication in that hospital. I even had legal advice on the phone, on speakerphone. I begged. I cried with tears in my eyes and I begged for my medication.
Did the hospital give you any counseling to deal with this anxiety?
I spoke to a chaplain on the phone about my end of rights application. That was the only counseling that I received about anxiety and so on.
Did the chaplain offer any assistance to you?
Yes.
Did they offer any assistance to your medication?
No. Only spiritual.
Were you being forced to see a chaplain?
No. Did so on my request.
Is there anything that you want to summarize or say?
Well, there's lots of things I want to say. I could go on for days, but I just honestly and truly I don't have it in me. This is what I do want to say to my Premier and any other ministers, honorable offices and so on that are connected or under her control.
Do you believe that you should be paying attention to this?
Yes. I'd like to point out this at this point. The Honorable Ronna Ambrose went on national television some time back in a fit of rage over our current court rulings and decisions. Okay, which allowed me to do what my doctor has prescribed to me. She went on national television and stated that the highest courts in Canada were basically idiots. They didn't know what they were doing. She also stated that she would use every resource in her power to see to it that my doctor prescribed medication and treatment was never normalized. Quote, unquote, normalized. Our provincial government has targeted me specifically. They've gone on national television to do so. Okay? At that time, our Minister of Health went on national television and informed me that me and my family are never going to be treated quote unquote normal. risk of sounding crude and crass and everything else that I'm really not, I'd like to say, fuck you, Ron Ambrose. Okay? You targeted me. Okay? This is the deal. This is what I need from my premier at this time. I need my premier to get me some medical attention that I need right now because I have neurological problems. I can't swallow, I can't finish the meal, I can't sleep, can't lay down. My bodily functions aren't operating properly and so on. I'm terrified to go near a hospital, an ambulance, or a police station for the obvious reasons that I've stated and that I will support with documentation and recordings of phone calls, statements from myself, other persons, and so on. Okay, but my problem is I don't have time for all this horse shit for investigations and stuff. Okay. I'm at the point now where this is what I need. I need immediate medical attention, or I need the premier to expedite the guidelines and so on so I can achieve an end-of-life applications being secured, approved, and executed. I don't want to suffer like this anymore.
Are you suffering at the hands of government?
I'm suffering at the hands of our province at least. Okay, I've gone way out of my way to prove it with this video and all the information I'm making available.
Do you authorize all those records to be released to the Premier's office?
Yes.
Do you authorize the records to be released for the purpose of an investigation?
Yes. That is actually my purpose, okay, is to eventually get an investigation, but right now, there's an even higher purpose that comes before that is I need some medical attention. Okay, it's just that simple. I need to see a freaking doctor.
If you went to a hospital right now, what is your biggest fear?
They are going to strip my medication from me, even though I produce the prescription for that medication. They are going to use me for an experiment. They've already stated that's exactly what they're going to do. They're going to implement policy on me that it was at least partially based on assumptions. Assumptions that can frickin' kill people. Okay? And when I pointed that out to the person who implemented that policy, they won't speak to me anymore. I have to speak to a lawyer now to make any further attempts to get into Woodstock General Hospital. I'm asking to go to Woodstock General Hospital for a couple reasons. First of all and foremost, it's close to my family. Okay? My oldest granddaughter needs a little extra help. She's got some problems too. Okay. She's been handed down the same disease that I have. Okay, she shows the same symptoms, similar symptoms that I did. She's also the oldest grandchild, and the oldest grandchild in my family gets pounded with this stuff. It's gone on for generations. She does exactly what I did when I was a kid. Okay, only what I did with my knees, she does with her elbows. She can pop her elbows out of joint and say, look, I'm double jointed. She's not double jointed. Maybe she is double jointed, but she also has some genetic flaws, like I do. I can't dislocate my elbows and pop them around backwards, but I can my knees, and I intend to do that in a few minutes here. I'm going to actually dislocate my knee so you people can see what I live with. Okay. It's shocking, okay, but you need to see it. I think the public should see it too. It happens to me over and over and over on a daily basis. I wake up in the morning with dislocated fingers. I have to watch the way I bite things because I will dislocate my jaw. At this point, I'm having a hard time swallowing. It just goes on and on and on. My symptoms have gotten worse and worse, especially over the last year or two, of the last few years, but the last couple of years have been really bad.
Do you have other medical conditions that require hospital attention other than your Ehlers-Danlos syndrome?
At this point, I really couldn't tell you. I know I got some problems. I know I got probably neurological problems and so on.
Could you explain what happened in January of 2015 when you were at Mount Sinai Hospital, Mr. West?
I was taken to Mount Sinai to the emergency room because extreme pain, blurred vision, so on. I just had some surgery before that, a few days before that, a short time before that, I can't quote days.
What kind of surgery?
Dental surgery. Anyways, I had a court appearance in Toronto. I attempted to go to court in Toronto, and I ended up in the emergency room in Mount Sinai Hospital.
What was the court action about?
Civil litigation against the Ministry of the Attorney General.
Okay. So continue what happened with you in the hospital.
I was admitted into the emerge, and I seen the medical staff there, and I was eventually admitted to the hospital, and I was released the next day when they regulated my blood levels. What had happened is the phosphates in my blood had dropped down to, I believe it was 3.1 or 3.2. I have the documentation somewhere.
What happens to your phosphate levels? Why do they drop? Why do it happens?
Well, nobody really knows for sure, but it just seems to happen when I have to endure extra stress. I can't sleep properly, get run down. My system gets run down.
What happens to your body when your phosphate levels get low?
Oh, lots of things. I get sick to my stomach. My vision goes blurry.
Does it require immediate medical attention?
Yes.
Could you die from that?
Yes. When your phosphates hit 2, you die. That's what I was told at the hospital anyways.
As having these run-ins with Woodstock and Simcoe and the phosphate problems in your Ehlers-Danlos, all this stress that you have, has this caused you to take a different look at things around you?
Yes. It's made me want to end my life. I'm not going to live like this. And my family's not going to experience that shit again. Ever, for any reason. I will not allow it. I will see to it that if necessary, whatever necessary, they're never going to see that. Okay? Now, I want the Premier to make sure that happens. I believe she owes that to my family. I don't give a rat's ass what happens to me at this point, okay, but I want my family protected. Okay, they've made it plain and simple to me. Our entire provincial government and even the federal government has made it very, very clear to me that I am unwanted, that I am untreatable, and they have no intentions to accommodate me, my disability, and my treatment in any way other than using me for a sick, twisted fucking experiment that I've already been through. And it makes me bitter, and I apologize for cursing. But I just don't know. I'm frustrated, you know.
Are they making your disease easier to manage? Or not?
Yes and no. It's a double-edged sword. They've made it impossible for me to get treatment, but they've made it obvious to me what I need to do to end it.
What is that?
I need to end my life. Our government has no intentions of accommodating me, my disability. They've gone on national television and targeted me and my family and even persons like me. Okay, and that's not only allowed, from what I understand and what I see, it's encouraged. Okay, what I call it is an antiquated, institutionalized mentality. Okay,
Should the Premier attend to this right away?
I'm begging the Premier to get me immediate medical attention.
Do you fear that that intervention of the Premier with the medical attention will get you the medical attention you deserve, or the ones that would be preferred by the institution that you'd be attending?
Well, from what I've experienced so far, is even the Premier's office has insisted on anything but getting me my proper medical attention. She's used everything in her means, just like our ministers of health and so on, to use that against me, my family, my person, actually even my existence. So, this is where I'm at today. I want the Premier to either allow me to end my life legally with doctor's assistance, like I believe I'm legally entitled to do. Okay. Or I would like to be given some proper medical treatment.
Are you being tortured on your way through making those decisions? To end your life, or to ask for those requests to be fulfilled by the hospital?
No, I make all these requests on my own free will, and I'd like to make those requests while I still have the proper frame of mind. Okay, because after you don't sleep for a while, and after you don't eat for a while, and after your body breaks down for a while, you start to wander into places where you don't even know if you're alive. Okay, you don't know whether you've had conversations or dreams. It's happened to me.
Could you explain what it's like living with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome?
No.
Is
I
it-
can't.
Is it painful?
Yes. It is.
Is it frightening?
The disease isn't frightening. The treatment that I've received is frightening. Okay? That's what I'm more scared of. Okay? I'm scared of what my family's, like I said, my biggest fear at this time is that my grandbaby's gonna get the same treatment that I'm getting. Okay? Or worse yet, maybe one of my daughters, because my serious problems didn't start till I was in my 30s.
Do you want this to be publicized all over the world?
Yes, I've made arrangements. I hope to make that happen.
And you mentioned something about your knees that you wanted to show.
Oh yeah.
Is there anything that you wanted to summarize in addition to this? Any other comments? Any other people? Any other things that you want to tell somebody?
Yes.
Intervention or not?
This is one thing that I want to make clear to anybody and everybody who sees this or hears it. Don't let my grandbabies see this. Okay? When I'm around them, I have to put on a smile and be Papa. I can't be some blubbering idiot that wants to kill himself because nobody will treat him. Especially my oldest grandbaby. Okay, I'd sooner die right here, right now, with my bullet in the head to expose my oldest grandbaby to what I have to live, or what I'm experiencing. Okay. My oldest grandbaby writes things in her school journal that no kid should write. Especially at her age. Okay, and our provincial government doesn't give a rat's ass about that. Okay. They just don't.
Do you
Okay,
believe that they have the power to fix this?
I really couldn't tell you. How do you fix something that's so frickin' broken? Okay, I don't know if she can fix it or not, or whether she has the power to fix it. But I do know that she has an obligation to me, my family, and to the people of Ontario. And that's, I believe part of that obligation was to see to it, shit like this doesn't happen to people. Okay, this is why I'm doing this on film. Anybody who knows me or has known my life has never seen me cry. Okay, I didn't cry when my own mother died. Didn't shed a tear. Why? Because she had just moved on to a much better place. Okay, she suffered from mental illness, some other illnesses. And I don't know how to describe it to other people except for this. When she died, it's the only way she could obtain peace. She never had a restful soul or a restful minute in her life because of her illnesses and the treatment that she received because of it. You know, she got lucky. She just died in her sleep. I can't sleep long enough to die.
How much sleep have you had over the past couple of days?
I couldn't tell you not much. I can't sleep for any more than 15, 20 minutes at a time. Sometimes I can go back to sleep, sometimes I can't. Most of the time I can't.
Did you want to show your niece?
Yes, I do. If you give me a hand with that, I'd like to do that. I'm only going to do it with the one. Okay. Ehlers-Danlos is a genetic flaw. It causes it's a collagen deficiency, okay, which affects especially your eyes because your eyes are 80% collagen. I'm losing my sight by the minute right now. It also affects the connective tissues differently in everybody, but for me, I got it bad in my face and in my legs. So I'm not going to bend this all the way over, but I'm going to push this far enough that you can obviously understand that it's freaking dislocated. I'm sure everybody can see my kneecap there. Okay, I'll keep my hand.
Move your other leg forward a little bit.
Okay, I got to put it back here. I'm going to fucking fall over when I do it. Here. Okay, now, does anyone?
Is that painful to you?
That's a little painful, yeah. Okay, now if I actually push that past that, it'll make me pass out.
Okay, if there was. You want to conclude this video now?
Oh, yeah. Please.